Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, opinion, folks. It's me on the Waitress page, aka the Emperor of Female Bodybuilding Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, last Monday I did an interview, the lovely Miss Lynn Bashimi. That was our MuscleTalk Monday for last week, and now we're back to a little discussion. As you know, we're always trying to find something to talk about. That's why I really would like it for y'all to let me know what you want us to talk about. You know, the season starting is revving up. You know, some shows are hitting big time, and some ladies are doing pretty good. Just saw this past Saturday the Van Al show, which is one of the first two shows for Women's Bodybuilding for the season, and the first show for Women's Physique for the season. And congratulations to Chelsea Dion. She's won her third qualification for women's bodybuilding at the Van Al show. And congratulations to the lady who had pleasure interview on my channel, Mademoiselle Barbara Marjan, who won her fifth Olympic qualification in women's physique. So I hope best of luck for you ladies. We're gonna have some shows coming up next month. There's New York Pro, and that's for women's bodybuilding. That's it. And then you have I think a couple others like Pittsburgh and also New York, and maybe a couple others. So we're gonna have a little dry spot for women's bodybuilding for a good bit till about June, July. But there are some shows coming up. So folks, as you know, bodybuilding, we often discussion how bodybuilding is the fringe sport, but it kind of hits worldwide. You know, it's a sport that really spread over. Just a couple weeks ago, there was a show called the FIBO. It's done over in Germany, and they just recently started doing, I think, both pro men's bodybuilding and I think pro women's figure. And I saw some clips here and there. Congratulations to the winner, Jennifer from Germany. Some other ladies who I follow also on Delina Ramstein and some quite a few others. We saw the return of Sergio Olivier Jr., who has been out of the game for some time. I think she was top 3 this show. So we're going to discuss this, how bodybuilding has traveled across the world. First off, we have my brother. We haven't seen him for a while. You know, he's been busy. He's a busy man. Busy. My big brother, Mr. Big Keith Williams.
What up?
He's here. As you know, he is an IFB Pro bodybuilder. He's prepping for the coming shows, and also he's Masters Olympic qualified. Because this year's Masters is in Japan. Let's talk about that. Are we in Japan now? I mean, wow. And here we have my man KL the Wanderer.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Yes, KL is a fan, and also he's a hater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know you're talking about yourself, right? Every time you say hater to me, it goes back to you. But
no problem. I can be a hater. I can be a congratulator. I know that. I know that. I tell you, I'm a particular type of criminal. I don't care.
Okay. As long as we understand each other.
Yes, we understand each other. Boy, I'm a real inward boy.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, folks, as you know, bodybuilding has been around for quite some time, almost a little over half a century. And the guy who really opened the door was a guy from Canada, that was Ben Weider. And that was around about the 30s and 40s. And then he made it global. And you saw quite a few bodybuilders from across the world. People like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria. People like Samir Bannout from Iran. I think he's from Iran or he's from Iraq. I'm one of the places. Legends like Sergio Olivier, Reggie Smith, his son competed just a few weeks ago at FIBO, and he's from Cuba. I mean, this is kind of, we always talk about why, even though this sport is so fringe, why that has really expanded. And we can always pull up the situation about the steroids thing, but I feel like it's a lot more than that.
Well, it's like John Majors. If you guys didn't watch the interview with John Majors from the movie Magazine Dreams, he said it best. Bodybuilding in the United States is like a cult. Overseas, it's not. It's more popular. And he did an unbelievable interview with Generation Iron, and he explained it to the T, about this movie and how so many bodybuilders were offended by the movie and this and other. And Victor Martinez is actually part of the interview, and it's like he's seen it, he's going to see it again. And if you notice, it was in theaters, and I wanted to see it in my theater, and it was gone like within a week. But at the end of the day, like he said, and he said it best, and he articulated it very well. And if you haven't seen the interview, you got to go to Generation Iron and watch it. And he said it's a cult thing in the United States. It's not the Europeans. It's European like Brazil and all these countries now that are bringing it to the forefront to their country. It's huge over there. and it's dwindling in the United States. You know, and that's the bottom line. At the end of the day, it is a cult here. It is a niche thing here. And he said both of those words versus overseas, where it's huge. You know, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I tried to
Yeah.
see the movie. I was trying to see, but the theater that's around me, the closest theater, they didn't have it. So I
You
could
know,
have tried another theater, but I had to walk or something, take the train or something. But it was far a little farther. But I wanted to go see it, but I'll wait till it comes out in on YouTube or something like that. Purchase it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it probably will probably be on like a streaming service, like like something like HBO Max, or probably I don't know
Netflix.
who I think yeah,
Netflix.
Netflix. It won't take it long because movies like that, it's like, I think I'm trying to remember of an old movie that didn't really do well in theaters, but it's a classic now. We can see it, like Hudson Hawk. You remember that one, the Bruce Willis movie? Wasn't as popular in theaters,
Seen
but
that
it
movie.
really, yeah, it wasn't popular in movie theaters, but it became really a cult classic. When it once hit to rental stores, you can catch it on cable, or or regular television now. Because the thing is, people at first you don't have a taste for it, but then you really look at the movie and really see it what it is. So what I'm gonna do is, and we mentioned it earlier. I just went on to Jerry Iron. If you have not seen the movie, check it out. I just pulled up on here on the IG, and I will show it to y'all. It's a little clip from the movie. We probably won't get any problems because this is on social media, on a social media platform, and so should be no issue. So YouTube, this is just news information, so it's not like I'm showing the whole movie. So here we go.
Important, or nobody will remember you when you're dead. I want to be Mr. Olympia one day. Like my dog twits, judges always say they're too small. Think they're liars? Everyone's a liar. I've been training for this every moment my entire life. When I close my eyes and dream, and the entire world will know my name. You have to do something
Yeah, it's
important.
interesting, because one of the stars of the movies is Michael Hare. Michael Hare is an actor, bodybuilder, social media influencer, and he's one of those guys that parlayed his bodybuilding career to celebrity status. I've seen him on quite often working with other social media influencers. One I've seen him does some stuff just like Nicole Drink. She's a British former competitor. She used to be a bikini competitor, but now she does more comic stuff. It's kind of funny when and you see, like, I think the guy that really opened it up was the movie Pumping Iron. That really opened up the world to bodybuilding.
Yeah. I mean, well, you had Pumping Iron, you had Generation Iron, you had the movie about the Weeder brothers and their vision that clearly has come to fruition. I mean, it's one scene where the guy was like, I want to open up a gymnasium. He goes, why the fuck would anybody ever want to go do something like that? Well, guess what? In the world we live in now, every corner, and I live in Lawrence, which is a place, there's probably at least 10 gyms in this place. Everybody thought it was a joke in what he was talking about. And clearly his vision has came to fruition and some, but for some reason in the United States, here's a frustrating thing is I'm watching pillow fucking fighting on ESPN. I'm watching axe throwing on ESPN. I'm watching tag on ESPN. I'm watching all this shit. I'm like, really? Is this what we're watching? Is this what ESPN is putting on TV? And who wants to watch that shit for one? I'd rather watch, and I understand the whole affiliation with steroids and all this other shit and everything else, but there's a lot of things in the world, not just steroids, that affects a lot of people in so many different ways. But again, at the end of the day, they're still playing it on TV. At the end of the day, I think it's the bottom line is that you have to get people, and we've said this for countless episodes of this show, people who actually have a vision, which I thought the perfect person wouldn't. I love Jake Woods, but the perfect person that should have been, who should have bought this and probably would have really helped take this off was The Rock. And everybody's like, oh, he would have ran it in the ground. No, The Rock is a very mindful person. He has a United Football League now who combine the USFL with with his league and all these other things. You need somebody with a marketability and a vision like that versus guys who is just trying to make money. And that's what he tried to do. But again, I guess it sounded like he got outbid by Jake Woods, and now the vision, I don't think Weider's vision is what or where we're at now. I think we're very behind. And like, if you listen to Jonathan Major say in that interview, he said, in the United States, it is a cult and a niche thing versus a mainstream thing, which is crazy because everybody's in the gym working out. So if everybody's in the gym working out, how can it be just a niche thing in the United States where in the United States, I don't even know how many gyms there are in the United States versus other parts of the country, but I'm sure we dominate the world as far as gyms and people working out, but yet it's a niche and a cult thing. It's crazy to me. It's amazing.
They embrace it. I've talked to a couple of bodybuilders. Matter of fact, what's her name? Ivana. I can't pronounce her last name, but she was telling me about how she moved from Prague to Germany. Because where she at, Prague, when they don't really expect a woman. I know you know the story, guys, but she went there, just to kind of like I would fit in, but in that world, because a lot of bodybuilding is respected. That's the simple way for me to put it. And then in other places where it's traditional, I think the ironic thing about United States, it's traditional at the same time. At times, it's a lot of it's socialism there, but it's just like people trying to be traditional at the same time, where they might not really respect it, with muscular people. I don't know, not too much of the men, but much of the women. It can sense, like some of these places, they're more liberal or open, so that they embrace it more.
Yeah, I know you talk about Ivana. You interviewed her, how she told me how she got into bodybuilding was, some parts of she was Czechoslovakia, Prague. Some part of that country was controlled by the communists, and they seen bodybuilding as aversive and subjective. If you're not seeing the last few years, there's been quite a few numbers of bodybuilders from Russia coming in. As you know, you look at Natalia Amazonka, you look at Anastasia Kobaleva, you look at Rahim's girlfriend, you look at one lady who I follow, her name is Natalia Bastrova. I mean, it's recrossing, and like check out Alvana, she's from the Czech Republic. There's some ladies that come from Czech Republic, like Linka Ferikova. There's a lot of male bodybuilders that come from countries like Romania and also Prague, and also Germany has always really been putting out a lot of them. Like, as I said earlier, the FIBO was up was this past I think a couple of weeks ago, and it decided this year to add both figure and men's bodybuilding. I think some other divisions I didn't really pay attention to, but I did pay attention to the bit of the figure because I'm more a fan of that than as men. And you can see that has really hit in countries like Germany over the last few years. And that's why the big reason why Ivana moved over there, because there's more opportunity. It's also bodybuilders even stretching into Saudi Arabia. There's some bodybuilders that live in Dubai. Nasir, he's from Dubai. I remember a while back, Hel Trevino, she moved over there, for a bit. And, it's just, it's not still, for women, it's not as popular just yet, but it's really gets attention.
But it's better than the United States.
Yeah. Well, here is right here.
I'm here with bodybuilding legend Phil Heath. Phil, one question though, you've won so many competitions. What's your secret to success?
if you dream big, that means you have to motivate yourself even bigger, especially on those days where you don't want to train, where you don't want to show up for work, where you don't want to actually do the work. That's when you have to challenge yourself. And that's what I did each and every day, throughout that Olympia run.
Do you have a secret formula you're using, like something you're doing every day in your routine?
More self-gratitude, more being of gratitude, being thankful for what you have. If you can wake up and put your feet on the ground, have air in your lungs, your heart is beating, you're alive. So you can do a lot of things. So, just being of intentional focus with gratitude, I think that's something that a lot of people need to focus hardly on.
How are you doing, guys? I'm
Well,
here.
we have somebody like Phil Heath, who's a multiple-time Olympic competitor, and he's well known. Everybody know about if we talk about his rivalry with Kai Green, and like I said again, if you can go to a country like Germany and you're recognized by people there, as you know, Dennis James is planning on to do a show there in this summer, which was originally the show was originally in Spain. But then they moved it to the UK because the promoter for that one, he let it go when I think Two Boats took over. They had it in UK for a bit, and now Dennis James took it over, and now it's going to be in Germany. And it's opportunity especially for competitors who live that side of the world, to have a show that may be closer to them. But we all know most of the shows here are in the backyard of the States.
Yeah, and that's just the problem. It's sad when the biggest country and the most athletes come from the United States, but the smaller countries, have the bigger shows. The FIBO is, it's just a big show, and it's a big sporting event. And Europeans, I just feel, I did my rookie season, I did the Nordic Pro in Finland, and the promoter flew with me. I think it was me, Fred Smalls, and Todd Jules over there with the 3 United States. And that was when we were still filming Generation Iron. And the from the sports festival to the show, it was phenomenal. And so I understood why the Europeans actually appreciate our sport way more, and that was years ago. So it's grown tenfold since then. They just appreciate the hard work of men and women competitors. You remember, think about it. Iris and certain competitors, when they were doing the muscle worshiping, would go over to Germany because they were making more money over there than here, doing that kind of stuff. And so because the sense of appreciation wasn't a muscle worshiping or just muscle in general by men and women was much more appreciated than the United States, which is, I don't get it and I don't understand it, but that's just the way what our sport is. There's a reason why, everybody's like, oh well, why is the Master Olympia in Japan? Obviously, there's a marketability and a reason why it's there, and the reason why they brought it to Romania, because they're trying to take the sport internationally, and it's actually working in some of these shows. Some shows it's not, but most of these shows it is. And so, from that standpoint, I get it. Like I always say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a comment from a man, Raheem Hamilton. He's in the building. He says the dire wolves was brought back from extinction for the Talia to work out with, so she can become bigger and stronger to win the Miss Olympia. Right now, as we speak, she is working out with them in Siberia. Oh God, man, get off that woman's hood. Get off that woman's, get off, get your face between her titties. Come on, that's all you do. That's what you want to do. He says this. I'm sorry if the children are there. I'm sorry, I'm careful. He said the next extinction animal will be woolly mammoth for Natalia to use to work out with. She coming for Andrea. Hell no. Forget about it. You keep dreaming, brother. What about the Bears? Where's the Bears?
Yeah. It's called consistency, bro. Mm-hmm. There's no consistency there. No offense at all.
No, we know that, brother. But you know how he is. He's a fanboy. But yeah, if there's also, I think just that the week before the FIBO, and right, I think right after the FIBO, before the FIBO, and right after Arnold the Classic, there was a show in Brazil. It was a pro qualifier, and Brazil, as you know, is where wellness come from, and we got quite a lot of numbers from that country. You look at people like Alcione Barreto. You look at Natalia, Natalia Cuejo. You look at also the lady who's right now. I think most of the top 3 competitors in Miss Olympia for Wellness, were mostly Brazilians, and that's a country where I think they have a strong fitness influence, and it spread to other places. Like we had the Triple Over weekend, and most of the ladies there were from Canada. We had people like Barbara Jean from France. You had Nadine Phoenix who come all the way from UK. Some Americans, a couple Americans here and there, but generally it's just really, instead again becoming a very expanded sport over the years.
Well, here's the thing. One year I did Tampa when they introduced that wellness was coming, and it was, in the essence, they were saying it was for more pear-shaped women who didn't have like just the bikini or the figure or the women's physique or the women's bodybuilding look. So they created this category for women who had bigger lower bodies and smaller upper bodies, and that's how this whole thing came to fruition. And so, now it's huge because now, again, you've created another division which has been around for a couple of years now, just like this fit model thing, where it's more obtainable than doing women's physique, women's bodybuilding, even kind of women's figure right now. So that class, the women's wellness and fit model and bikini, are classes that are more obtainable, and that's why these classes are growing. Because I mean, not and I'm not being disrespectful to these classes, but because they still got to work. But I mean, to put on Sandy had I don't know if you guys seen a post, and I sent it to my clients, and it says the density in muscle is what makes the difference between the classes. And she's right. The density between muscle makes the difference in classes, whether you're women's bodybuilding, women's physique, women's bikini, wellness. The density in muscle is what's the difference in these classes, and that's what people have to understand. You don't have to have as much density clearly to be a bikini girl. You definitely have to have a wellness. The figure girls are kind of borderline crossing that deal, but there's so much that goes into it, and I'll send it to you, George. That these judges are talking about the posing, the this. There's so much that people don't understand when these judges are looking at things that makes everything come to fruition as far as understanding the depths of what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Sandy Williams is one of the top women in this sport as a judge. She's been around. She does the Olympia. She does the Rising Phoenix, pretty other shows like Nationals and stuff like that. And again, we talk about how the judges, they're the ones who really have a lot of control when it comes to what the competitors coming up into condition and shape. I mean, I know talks to ladies say I know a couple ladies say they don't get the judges' feedback because it doesn't really matter to them. They know what mistakes they have to fix, but still, you really want to get that knowledge from somebody who's been around, especially someone like Sandy. Here goes Raheem again, man. You started shit, he says. Polar bears are too weak for Natalia to work out with. Who cares? Only you care. So, but yeah, I mean, I just when my brother was talking about Sandy, I'm gonna pull up this video. It's from, she was, as you know, was a few weeks or a month or so ago. She was part of the women's weekend. It was NPC weekend, I think it was in Florida. And, it was a nice event. It was her and quite a few other ladies there. Also, my girlfriend was there, shout out to Andrea. She's my girlfriend. And this is a video with Sandy, and she's talking about, particularly what women in the sport has evolved over time as a judge. Here we go.
Yeah.
What do you hope you left behind for the women in this industry?
Oh, I hope that I gave them a platform to make themselves heard. Like I said, we've now started the women's workshop. Because, like I said, women like to feel part of a community, and like I said, we have so many amazing young women in this sport, and I want them to feel like they have a connection with other women, especially now that we're international. And we started to do that now with a group of our judges, you know what I mean, from different countries that we get together on a Zoom so that they feel like they have support from each other and stuff. That's really what I just want them to feel like they have a voice.
Yeah, that's the thing is, women do need a voice. All competitors need a voice, not just the women, but also the men. As you know, this is a event they had was about a couple of months ago. There goes Andrea right there, a couple other ladies, and there's Sandy right there. I mean, it's like I said, it's hard to be a woman in the sport of bodybuilding, and just any competitor. The time, the money, the investment you put into the sport, and what did you get back out of it? Like, and so again, the sport has gone, worldwide. Like you had your All Sports weekend just passed, and you have people like guys like Derek Lundford right here in America. You have the current Mr. Olympia champion Samson Dua, quite a few other guys here from Men's Classic. Different people from different worlds. We had a lady who became the first Black woman to win the bikini title at the Arnold Classic. Derek beats Samson. That was a surpriser. And and he came a long way, his brother. And you got to remember the guy who really had a lot of success from bodybuilding is right here, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's the late Cedric McMillan. He was there. That was a few years ago. Pretty decent guy. Keith knew him. He was a good friend of his, and also Cedric has served our country. And Arnold has made a fortune from this sport and has expanded. It's also there's a pro qualifier, and it's people who come from other parts of the world to get their pro card and eventually go to the Olympia someday. And also they do other shows like later interview back Jamie Morrison. She was there hanging out at the All Sports weekend. She's from Australia, and bodybuilding as a whole has really grown in the last few years, not just popularity, I think reputation, opportunities. You're seeing the cross section of celebrities right here. You have here is Grunk right there hanging out with Arnold. Used to play for the a team not a fan of the New England Patriots. You had guys like Ronnie Coleman there. You had C-Bum, Jay Cutler, that guy, I think called him, I forget his name, Solik, whatever his name is. I mean, bodybuilding has really the rim of it has grown, but it's still curiosity why it has gone as far as it should. Wait a minute, folks. You know who we got here? We got somebody here that he just came in. He just came in on City the Crime. Yeah, you know it. Raheem is here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, well, I'm out here running some errands, but I was hearing you guys talking about the topic. Yeah, it makes a good point. But the thing is, again, if in order for the sports to continue to thrive, you got to have maybe one or two bodybuilders to be the face of bodybuilding. Like I said, in every sport, you need athletes to be the face of the sports. That means, again, personality, charisma does play a factor. In order for the sports to grow, sponsorships to sponsor the sport, you gotta have that female Arnold, that Arnold Schwarzenegger to get the male bodybuilders. Really, I've been thinking about it too. Realistically, I think both men and female, they need to downsize a little bit so make it look at least realistic where someone could say, hey, I can get into the sport. So it's going to be like a lot of changes. Some changes people won't feel. Some changes they will agree to. But I think that's what needs to happen.
Well, they did try to downsize years ago, but what it was, though, it didn't work because eventually, look what you got now. If you look at compared to like guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno, compared to guys like Big Ramy and Samson Dua. I mean, the guys are allowed to get bigger because hey, everybody likes the big, freaky, muscular guys. Women are kind of limited, even in divisions like they don't want. Reason why they bring in the fit model division because the women in bikini are getting a lot bigger. Like like I just interviewed a young lady yesterday. She's a bikini competitor. She has an amazing physique. She looks like she could probably do figure. Both me, KR interviewed a young lady. Her name is Jessica. We talked about how she looks like she could be possibly a figure competitor, but she earned her pro card as a bikini competitor. It's just about what do people want more out of bodybuilding for themselves, and also if it's will be more acceptable if there's more press, more attention. And like I said again, Raheem, if somebody steps up and be that face, like you do have guys like Chris Sebum, but you really need somebody really try to
You
do
don't have you don't have nobody, no one outside the media knows until see that. See, the problem is only within the body community, bodybuilding community, they know who C-Bum is. The problem is this: no bodybuilders have tried to say, "Hey, now that I'm at the top, let me get an agent. Let me do projects outside of bodybuilding, so I can get more views, more fed, new fans, and everything." That's the issue.
Here, you guys are beating a dead horse, and it's getting kind of redundant. Because here's the problem: at the end of the day, you keep saying, like, as me and my wife are both pro bodybuilders, you can sit there saying, "Oh, Mark, this." No, God damn it! Well, think about it, Raheem. If you're the guy in the film industry, the NBA, the WNBA, the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, they're their own brand. If they want to, they're going to market their athletes so people come and watch. It's not the athlete's responsibility. The reason why people watch the NBA championships, the reason why people watch the NFL, the reason why the people watch MLB, tennis, etc., is because they market their brand. The IFBB is not marketing their brand like these other people. That's the problem. It's not the athlete, it's the brand. It's not the. I played the NFL
I
for you.
agree.
It's not the NFL. It's not the. It's not the. I played the NFL. It's their brand is the NFL is the strongest brand in the world, and they make more money and more money every year. Jerry Jones has one of the shittiest football teams in the world. But guess what? He is a marketing guru when it comes to his fucking team. And his team is the most wealthy, he's the cheapest fucking owner, but he knows how to market and brand his team. That's the difference. The problem that we're having here, guys, is not, oh, Andrea Shaw needs to do this, Chris Sebum needs to do this. No, the IFBB needs to do their fucking due diligence and do their job. And it's the funny thing is, like, the thing that pisses me off more than anything is whenever like, The Rock would have been a horrible person to represent the IFBB. Are you fucking serious right now? Guess what? The United Football League is on TV every fucking weekend. Every weekend they're on TV. Every weekend they're on ESPN. And everybody thought that shit was going to be a bust. But guess what? They're on TV every weekend. He had a show where people were competing against each other. Everything that dude has touched has turned to fucking gold. Fucking platinum, for that matter. So you want to sit here and tell me, so you want to sit here and tell me that him not being a part of the IFBB would have hurt them and not help them? Are you shitting me right now? Are you shitting me? Everything that guy has touched has turned to money. And that's the problem, is that the problem that we're having in this whole situation is that the powers that be want to control in the sport. And here's what you guys have to understand. There's two presidents to the IFBB. There's an international president there's international president, which is Raphael, and there's Jim Mannion. And they don't get along, by the way. They don't like each other. They don't get along. Because the idealism of what they think should happen in the sport. Here's a prime example. IFBB, he sent Cedric McMillan home from Brazil because Cedric McMillan came late to a meeting. He put his ass home and sent his ass home. But guess what? Raphael was pissed off, and a lot of other people were pissed off because guess what? Those international fans came to see Cedric McMillan. Samson Dua, everybody, a couple years ago before he became Mr. Olympia, was like, well, why is he doing all this show? Sam said one thing. The reason why I do these shows in Europe because my fans here don't get to see me in the United States. So I come back and do this show so that they can see me. That dude is his net worth now is crazy. Shit, he built a gym and they supplied him with every piece of equipment in there for free. He's driving around Porsches, brand new houses, all this other stuff because he understood the way he branded himself was. And guess what? Who said it best? Tamer Brother came out and said it. The IFBB needs Samson Dua because Samson Dua understands how to market himself. Well, by you sitting there saying that, Tamer Junior, whatever, why aren't you guys doing your due diligence and using that and expanding that to your advantage? And they haven't. They have not. Weeder he's probably rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah. You know, Joe, he put guys like, you know, Arnold out the front, you know, Luke Rickard out in the front, so many other bodybuilders out the front, you know, Lee Haney. I mean, even he pushed Ronnie Coleman.
Here's the thing. What did he say, though, George? When Weeder was alive, he had to go out because he was in trouble for a minute. He had to go out and says, what is going to change this sport and my marketing strategy? And who was that? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And he said, I see this guy from Austria, and they used him as a poster boy, and it took off from there. Because he understood his strategy. Huh?
May I interject for a second? Keith, I don't want you to think what I'm saying it all falls on the athlete. What I'm saying is that you know, and I know, that if the promoters are not doing their due diligence to promote the sport, then I'm saying is that then the athlete should just go rogue and say, you know what, forget it. Let me promote the sport as me. Let me be that personality. Because yeah, you're right. There is no Roger Goodell bodybuilder. There's no late great David Cerner bodybuilder. There's none of that. You know, this is what I'm saying, because if every athlete is dissatisfied about the sport and everything, at times you have to get off, you have to go rogue or go off the plantation and say, okay, I'm going to go in business for myself. Because if I'm not making the money I need as a bodybuilder and I want to branch the sport out in the Americans, you know, then let me do that. Like I was telling George, hey, let me get on these podcasts. Kai Cenat is the biggest podcaster out there. You know, if Andrea Shaw got it onto his show, then Kai Cenat's fan will go to her social media and they'll be like, oh, she's the coolest thing in the world. Because like I said, again, it is frustrating for bodybuilders who wants to make a living out of the sport, not make a living out of it because of the powers that be. And given the fact that Dwayne didn't get the opportunity to take the sport to a different level, which he would have done, you know, you as that Olympia winner, you have to say, the hell with this, let me go rogue, let me get a paycheck, let me put this sport on the map, because obviously the promoters are doing this.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You hear so many promoters, like, again, I say Chris Liam's a prime example, but that's the last conversation I had about women's bodybuilding. And he said, well, when somebody's willing to sponsor the show, I'll put it in the show. Well, here's the thing. How don't you know it's going to be successful? Why don't you give it a run for 1 year and see what happens? But now they're taking out women's physique as well. So why don't you give it a run and see how well it does? Because I was there. Wings of Strength showed up. And it was a phenomenal show, you know. But again, you don't take things out and you encourage things to go in. And they're taking things out. And their whole opinion about, you know, why should women people are not appeal to? How do you know that? Because there's a whole bunch of people, you know, guess what? Think about it. Tampa women's bodybuilding was out. And guess what? Now it's back in. Why? Because Jake reached in his pockets, handed Tim Gardner some money, or came to some agreement. Now it's back in. So you're telling me the biggest show, the most competitors you took out of the circuit at the Tampa, now it's back in. Why? Because Jake Wood understood the logistics of what are we doing here? Because we know, and I'm not going to say names, but we know some people in our industry, me and my wife's industry, can give a fuck less about bodybuilding. They can give a shit less.
Yeah, like I said, Jake, I at one point I was not doing this anymore, but yo, Jake, I want that money, I want that gun, again, always announce.
Again, at the end of the day, people say we talked about the senior schmo thing. I heard because I said so. What you're saying is Jake is your biggest schmo. He just got a lot of money, so because he can put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
That's what they're saying.
And I wouldn't call him a schmo. I love Jake. He's a great guy. I just think he got into something and then got people in his ear that really didn't understand. He didn't understand what he was getting into, and now you got people kind of walking you through it. I think as he goes through it, he's starting to understand it more than ever. But again, he didn't understand it when he first got into it. And again, at the end of the day, I'm like, how do you call a sports like Arnold? We get into this all the time. Arnold, how do you call yourself a sports festival? You got pole dancing, but you don't have bodybuilding. You got pole dancing, but you don't have women's figures. You got pole dancing, but you don't got fucking this. You got wrestling. You got all this dumbass shit that I don't care to see. But you got all these, but you don't have these crucial things in your show because you don't care to see them. But other people, the world, he has 6. I think he said at one point in time he wanted 6 different shows on 6 different continents. I think that's what he said. I heard him. So you're telling me in those 6 different continents, they don't want to see women's bodybuilding. They don't want to see women's figure. They don't want to see women's physique. Is that what you're telling me? How do you know that? How do you know? Because there's people who want to see it. You may not want to see it, but there's people who want to see it. And again, at the end of the day, if I'm Jake, I'm disassociating myself with that because if I am now the guy who owns not IFBB, but controls the Olympia in the sport, and again, the women's bodybuilding, women's physique, and women's figure are in my Olympia, but not in your show, in your sports festival, I can't fuck with you. I can't fuck with you no more.
You know, be a good idea. You know, be a good idea if Jake brings in either Dwayne or Danny in as solid partners. That would be a great idea. I mean, they will still listen to him regardless. They will take the meeting. You should do that.
Here's the thing, and Raheem is right. I mean, think about this. Shaq, people don't understand. Shaquille O'Neal is at all these bodybuilding shows, at the Olympia mainly, and a lot of these shows, because he's a big fan. Shaq is one of the most smartest marketing guys I know on the face of the earth right now. He has his hands in everything. So why not bring a guy like that in? But again, here's the problem. When you got guys with more money than you, you're not fucking with them because then you get pushed out. Because they understand, and the sport is dying. It is dying. No, and nobody in the Europe is growing, in the United States is dying. How is that possible?
No. Yes.
I mean, but how is that possible? The United States, the biggest country in the world, and the sport is dying. It doesn't make sense.
Like I said, it still says it's a fringe sport, and people not are ready to open their mind and accept it. We have here my man Exit Gucci 23 coming through. So like he says, salute Brother George in chat. Also, he says, Brother Raheem is echoing. He needs to cancel the noise in the background. Also, he says to me, he says, Jake, I need my money. And he's laughing at me. Yeah. Because the thing is, it's both, I think, as a company, when you have these people, like especially these athletes, like any other company, you put them out there in the front. You know, like Jim Mannion, you're supposed to be the boss. But right now, I think he's grooming his son, his grandson, to be the next. I think anybody who should be more about this, as I'm saying, is Tyler Mannion. If JM's not going to do the footwork, let him do it. Jim's not doing footwork. JM, he's too busy running around, taking pictures, stuff like that. He just did a photo session over at the St. Louis Pro, because this year they had women's physique. They had wellness in this place, because that's why at the Van Al show, you had a lot of ladies. They had like would have been 14, but it was 13 women competing at that show, because they didn't have a show for their first year division in St. Louis anymore. So they went to Vancouver. I know one lady, she wanted to do the show, but she couldn't do it because she couldn't get a ferry to get there in time. That's Marika Jones. And the thing is that I think Americans were kind of fickle. We like something when it's hot at the moment, and then after a while we get bored with it. We're America, it's supposed to be this beacon, but we're petulant children.
Well, here lies the problem, George. Not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
When people watch live streams, and watch shows, and I have people at my bar who looking at shows that when Tina's on stage and not understanding and looking and be like, how did that girl beat that girl and that girl beat that girl because it's a bunch of political bullshit? Americans are not fucking dumb. They're like, I'm out. I don't want to watch this shit because it makes no sense. Because I always tell people the eye in the sky don't lie. If you're looking, and Steve Weinberger said it, well, when you're there live and looking at it in person, it's different than watching it on TV. I get that. It ain't that. But again, if you got HD and all that other stuff, it becomes different. At the end of the day, what happens here in the United States, people are tired of looking at bullshit and sitting there saying, this doesn't make sense to me. How does this girl beat that girl? How does this guy beat that guy? It doesn't make sense. Why? And you don't have to be a person who absolutely know bodybuilding to look at somebody's pictures and look at them pose and be like, well, that girl clearly looks better than that girl. So how did this girl beat that girl? And they don't want to answer those questions. That's the problem. And so guess what? People just tune out. They're like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. I have no interest in that. When you play football or baseball or basketball, the winner, like I said, this was a hard sport for me to come into because when I came across the finish line, I won the race. When we scored the most points, we won the football game. Now I have 7 or 8 judges subjectively looking at me, judging me. And again, you're talking to a 3-time runner-up before I turned pro, sitting there saying, this doesn't make sense to me. But again, at the end of the day, it's not about making sense to me. It's about making sense to the judges. And the fans are thinking the same thing I am. Like, how the fuck did I lose to this guy? But again, it's subjective, and that's the problem. And some people get tired of the subjectiveness, so they leave. Kai Green was a prime example of that. Kai Green was like, here's the thing. I'm tired of losing to Phil. And Phil didn't beat him every year. The last Olympia when we filmed Generation Iron, I felt Kai beat Phil. I love Phil. I know him. But I felt that, but again, at the end of the day, in their minds, who they wanted was who they wanted. Guess what? Kai went along, walked away from the sport. I think he's thinking about coming back for something. And guess what? Made more money. And again, I will always use his terms when we did the CT Fletcher deal. He goes, use the sport for what you can get out of the sport, not what the sport can get out of you, because at the end of the day, they don't give a shit. It's pretty simple.
It's like my favorite movie, Players Club. You make the money, don't let the money make you.
Exactly.
That's how it is. And the thing is, there is money in the sport. It's just about how you want to get at that money.
Exactly.
Are you willing to take in the time, put in the work? And also, again, promotion and advertisement helps. If these promoters want to make money, then go out in the field, talk to the people, reach out to people. Like Raheem said, talk to people who are not in the sport, but also have a big platform.
And here's the thing. You telling me that Jake Wood, Tyler Mannion, Steve Weinberger, Jim Mannion, Sandy Williamson, and Dan Solomon, Tim Gardner, are you telling me, and this is where Raheem's whole vision comes to fruition, you're telling me that you can't go to these local markets where your shows are at, to these news stations, to these newspapers, put an ad in the paper, for Christ's sake, for people still buy newspapers, or put an ad on their online deal, whatever the case may be. Talk to these people about, because I think one time I seen an interview with like Ronnie, Jay, and a bunch of guys on the news, like a Good Morning America, like, hey, the Olympia is coming to Vegas, blah, 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 blah. And it created interest. You telling me, and you telling me they can't do that? That's something simple that they can do. That they can reach out to these guys and be like, look, we got this show coming on, and you got the money. You're making money. So put your money where your mouth is. Nobody's going to turn down something if you put some money up. If you say, how much does it cost? I remember when I was with Muscular Development, and I used to think that the guys you seen on the cover of the magazine were just guys they picked. And I found out later that, no, these supplement companies were paying $10,000 to $25,000 for their athletes.
Oh, we lost my big bro.
to be on the cover.
There you go, sweet.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, money talks, bullshit walks. And if you want your sport to grow, put your money where your mouth is.
That's the thing is, they don't want to put their money in my face.
They want to keep their money in their pockets. That's the problem. The only
That's
person that's spending money is Jake.
Yeah, shout out to Jake. I mean, he's put up a fight, and we talk about here. Like I was kind of a little raw about the situation with the Rise of Phoenix, but again, I understand what he's doing. He's trying to put it. He's trying to spread out the money a bit, share the wealth. But again, if you cut down the prize money for a show like the Rise of Phoenix, would any of the big superstars want to jump on it? I mean, I saw Sneaker Givens get an interview, and Ashley Jones get interviews, and they're kind of like on the fence about it. Because Sneaker's is going to be competing at the Masters Olympia coming up in the end of August. Ashley, she's already qualified for this year's Olympia. I think she might try to do another show just for the hell of it. If not, then there was talk about maybe she might do the Texas show, but now that's gone.
Here's the question that I have for you guys, because you guys are big WWE fans. I know guys. I know Brock and all these guys. But here's my question to you guys: if they're sitting here saying, and we, I think what was it? WrestleMania was last night or something like that, and John Cena.
Yeah. 2 nights.
I seen it on ESPN. I've seen it at. I seen it on ESPN. So you're fucking sitting here going to tell me that when you see these big ass guys on TV, that there is no association? Because I know for a fact from one of my close friends who said, I asked him why he walked away from it, and then he ended up coming back. He said the drinking and the drugs and all. I watch guys die.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Proceed. Sorry.
So I don't understand, if you're associating our sport with drugs, how don't you associate the WWE with the same thing? I don't understand.
Because wrestling is a different platform. It's not seen as sport. It's sports entertainment. And then, like we all know, there was like the steroids. But remember the guy, Schultz, who slapped that reporter years ago. And some people, Macho Man, he was like that one interview we do, like the cream of the crop. He's supposed to be, he was get up there, wow, walk out. Because it's sports entertainment. Where bodybuilding is not seen as a sport per se. It's one thing, like you look at a guy like John Cena.
The question is, the biggest thing is why? Why?
Well, because people look at bodybuilding as a pageant, not a sport. Because again, you're gonna. This is where bodybuilders who are IFBB pros need to educate the new people that even though we're on stage with posing, it's not a pageantry. It is a sport. You have to really break it down to a person like to the new people like a C student, like they're C students. You got to really break it down to sport, and this is where again, where the athletes needs to come in again, because you could get new fans when they get a better understanding of if bodybuilding is a sport or pageantry. Because if you ask the average person out here, they will say it falls in line more like a pageant than it is a sport, because all I see is people oiled up and flexed and everything. So this is where the athletes, the pro, have to, do a seminar, do a class.
I think you got creative too, also, because you got to make it entertaining. People not going to think about it.
I see go to all these fucking gyms are just there for what?
I think it's different. I think it's
well,
different.
I'm not.
Because a lot of they do work out. That's a common fact. But just to watch
they work out for being
flex,
healthy.
Yeah, exactly. For somebody to just watch it, and to understand it, I think it's a different story.
Here's
in my
the thing.
opinion.
Do you know how many guys I know at my gym run gear who don't fucking compete? A lot.
Plenty.
Well,
that's a new thing right now, Keith. I mean, look, we all know right now they do, like you just said a couple of months ago. When these guys today, when they do bodybuilding, they stick the needle in before they even do the workout. When I work out, I don't do that. I've been working out since I was 14, so I work out with the weights. There's no chemical. There's nothing like that nature. If I decide to pursue bodybuilding, then I have to say, okay, this is what I have to do. But this generation, they go in and they'll get on the gear quickly before they put up on the weights, and which is totally backwards.
What
Even the
I disagree on
bodybuilders,
that,
they
because I
don't
have 4
even.
competitors right now getting ready for shows who are all natty, mind you, and look fucking phenomenal. Because I told them, and this is what I said, because I said, when you decide to do that, for one, it's a personal choice. It's not my choice as a trainer. It's your choice. I said, and most people will say, when I exhausted every option and I can't get any better, like Sean Ray said it, Kevin Rabone said it, Dorian Yates said it, Flex Wheeler said it, and somebody else said it. When I got to the highest I could go to and couldn't get any better, that's when I transitioned to that. Because when you're an IFBB, I mean, they do have Nat. I mean, like I have a buddy Cornelius who's competing with this weekend in Utah in the natural show, and this dude looks fucking phenomenal. But he understands competing as a natural athlete versus as an IFBB pro natural athlete versus competing as a IFBB guy who takes gear is completely different. But again, at the end of the day, he understands that's where he wants to be, and if he wants to be one of these top guys, like Flex, remember Flex had a kidney deal, and he went in, I think it was 92 when he decided not to run gear and just go into the show. He still looked great because he had all that muscle maturity, but again, he said that year, I want to say it's 91 or 92, where he said he didn't want to do anything, and he still looked good. I mean, he still couldn't be Ronnie, but again, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is all these people I see in the gym, and the funny thing is, what you guys don't hear a lot of people tell me when I talk to people is this. I have a bodybuilding friend. I have a friend who competes. I hear that so much, and I'm like, really? I have a friend that looks just like you. I'm like, really? I'm fucking 285 pounds right now. I'm all muscle. He looks just like me, really? But again, when you guys say that, it's confusing to somebody like me, and it's very frustrating to somebody like me, because I don't care if they sit there. It's like a bikini girl saying, I'm a bodybuilder. No, you're a bikini girl. It's like a figure girl saying, I'm a bodybuilder. No, you're a figure girl. It's like and the list goes on. You know what I'm
But
saying?
it depends where you at, because where I'm at, like, people not really focusing on the bodybuilder. Majority of the times, people talking about the NBA or the NFL or maybe boxing. Nobody, I never hear, very rarely. If somebody talking about bodybuilding, they talking about working out or going to the gym, and that's it. Not to no show.
It falls down to this. Again, I want to stress this again, Keith. It falls down. You know why people don't talk about bodybuilding or just in the gym? It's because you do not, and it's sad to say this, but the last time a bodybuilder who had the charisma to attract people to it outside the industry was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Last time he was Mr. Olympia was 45 years ago. This is the fault of the promoters, because I'm going to keep it real honest. I like, truth be told, I'm gonna have to say this. I know I want to get some negative feedback from this. I would rather get a bodybuilder, rather she's male or female, who has a great charisma, who knows how to deal with the media, handle the media. I'd rather crown them Mr. or Mr. Olympia than the person who has the bestest muscles in the world, but just want to dip until next year. That's what I'm saying. This is where it goes down to selecting your champion. It has to do that.
Here's the thing, Raheem. You have the current 2024 Mr. Olympia who's doing all that, and the IFBB is doing shit to help him promote the sport.
This is why I said they need to go rogue.
I don't know if you guys follow Samson, but from his gym being open to him traveling around the world, to his dog, to his wife, to everything he does, and even Tamer's brother was saying, he is the epitome of what the IFBB needs in this sport. But what is the IFBB doing to help him promote the sport to make it even better? Not a fucking thing.
You're right. They're not doing nothing. This is why I said again earlier that, again, both Olympia winners, male and female, they need to get off the reservation and go rogue. Like I said, you know what? Get both of them. Sansa Dua and Shaw should get an agent. That's what I'm saying. Get you an agent. Say, hey, put me in this commercial, that commercial, this commercial. Do where you can get visible fee, because if you know that the IFBB Pro is not doing nothing for you and there's no money coming in like you wanted to, then this is what you got to do. So, like I said, yeah, if you got enough money to get you an agent, go to Hollywood, get you an agent. Say, hey,
And here's the thing. Here's the
you got to
thing.
do that.
Here's the thing. My son is 21 years old. He plays basketball at the University of Hawaii. And now he's entered himself in the portal. And he has an agent. And agents don't charge nothing. Agent's job is to find you a new college where, like, I think they said his marketability is worth anywhere between $80,000 and $100,000 right now. So there's schools that are willing to pay him to go to a different school, $80,000 to $100,000 to go play basketball for him, because that's the world of NIL deals now in college sports in general. So it's just so Samson and his wife. If like I said, if you guys don't follow him, you need to follow him and watch this dude, because who gives a guy a $280,000 card for free? He has to be doing something right. Look at this gym.
Yeah.
These guys brought all this equipment that you see in coming into this gym came from Brazil for free, because they understand his marketability, what he does, and all these other things. And then when you have Tamer's brother go on the Wings of Strength channel and says, this is what our Mr. Olympia should be doing, then why aren't you guys doing more to help him, Andrea, and all the champions do what he's doing? All the stuff that you see him doing here, he's done on his own. All of it.
I commend him that. But this is what I'm saying. Look, you got podcasts. I'm going to keep saying this. I hope that they do. Rodney Coleman was a former Mr. Olympian, and Shannon Sharp had it on the show. My thing is, why isn't the current Mr. Olympia on the show? This is what I'm saying. This is what you got to do to get more eyes and visible on it. Because here's the thing. Right now, the media in general is talking more about the dark side of bodybuilding. If you want to go and counteract and say, hey, there are more positive than these negative stories out here about bodybuilding, let me go on these platforms and explain to you about it. Let me go to this, because like I said, that Lyle Zato situation that happened in 92, okay, people use gear. Has there ever been cases of anybody who used gear get brain cancer? That scared a lot of people. That's the whole situation. Was he using steroids? Yes, he was.
Though? Raheem, whose
But
job is that?
no, but we know, no, it's not. No, it's not. It is, but it is, but that's what I'm trying to explain to you. It is their job. But if this is what I'm saying, if they're not doing it, then as an athlete, because you in that federation, you're gonna have to be like, yo, I gotta teach a new fan base what it is and what's not, because all they doing is they're allowing the negativity of bodybuilding out here, the dark side, the drugs, the sex, all that stuff. You get what I'm saying? They're allowing it to bust out there, but what you want to do is you want to counteract and say, listen, that's not all bodybuilders are doing that. This is what the sport is, and this is where as an athlete you have to come in, because the promoter's not doing that, then you should do that, because if you ask anybody out here, they get out the negative part, not the positive.
But here's the thing. Tyler Mannion, and I think you've seen it, George, anyway. What did he came out 2-3 weeks ago and he did? He said that they are introducing the NANSM to the IFBB and the NPC, so that's a certification that I have, the top certification that you can have to be a sports trainer, whatever case it be. So they partner up with the NANSM to sit there and say, so athletes can be healthier and find good trainers, which none of these trainers are going through that. I said, you did that, you said that, but and this is where your theory comes into play, Raheem. You did that, but what you should have did that with the NASM and did it to a broader picture than on your fucking Instagram. And that's what they didn't do. They didn't introduce this to the world. They said, oh, Tyler Mann sits behind his desk just like he's like, oh, I got great news. You got great news. But that's only going to people who follow the sport, not the world that's following the sport. And when you can make that happen, then people get a better general idea, like, well, maybe this is not too unhealthy for me. Maybe I can do this in a healthy manner versus always tying it to steroids. Because again, I have 4 athletes getting ready for shows in May and June who are all natty, who look fucking phenomenal, and I'm very proud of them. But you can't tie everybody who wants to get on stage to drugs, and that's the problem. And that's what he needs to do versus just sitting behind his desk. And I know Tyler since he was a little shorty before he even became who he is now, when he was wrestling as a youth wrestler to Maryland and things like that, and was introduced and became a part of the NPC and the IFBB. Again, at the end of the day, you can't tell me with your young mind, way younger than your Steve, way younger than your grandfather, way younger than anybody else on that panel, that this is what we should be doing to, especially how big social media is. This is what we should be doing to open and broaden our horizons to a more marketable thing for people to understand that they can do this in a healthy manner and not an unhealthy manner.
You think about Tyler, he's supposed to be pushed as the face because his dad JM, he's not really part of the whole business of it. He's more of a guy that takes pictures. He might do stuff here and there. He's just the son of the boss. But the grandson's the one they're pushing. He's kind of like, you look at The Godfather, Michael was the youngest, and he overjumped Fredo because Sonny got killed because Michael was smart. He knew things. He understood there. I see like this JM is Fredo, and
you know what the funny thing is, not to cut you off, George. So when Tina did her first show on the Muscle Mayhem here, Tyler and Billy were here judging that show. And I remember walking in the lobby and them looking at me and saying, that's what we want women's bodybuilding to be about. And that was Tina's first show, when she was an amateur. But then that's not what it became. And I'm like, you sit there and look me in my face in the lobby and said, this is what women's bodybuilding is, sexy, it's pretty, and all this other stuff. And then you went you did something completely different. That's what I don't understand about these guys. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, like Chelsea looked, to me, I think last week, Chelsea looked amazing. She looked great. Especially, with all the health issues, she looked amazing in Vancouver this last weekend. She looked, and she brought in her condition from the week before, I think a week before, 2 weeks before. She looked amazing. When you got people like Chelsea, when you got people like Tina, when you got people like Andrea, when you got people like Andrea Yo, Ashley, et cetera, that's what your women's bodybuilding should be about, and that's what you should be posterizing, but they don't do that. Because if people seen that you can be feminine, you can be muscular and feminine and sexy and all that stuff, I think it'd be more accepting to society, but that's not what they show. They don't show that, and that's why people like, oh, that's disgusting, because Iris, and no, I love Iris, but Iris took it to an extreme level, and that's why it went away. And it was supposed to come back more feminine, more sexy. But again, at the end of the day, she looked really good. I don't know if you have a picture of her last show, but she looked amazing. And I thought in 5 months or 6 months, because she was big, she was having a lot of health issues. And Tina showed me a picture of her today. She looked amazing. But again, I don't follow Chelsea. Raheem, do you follow Chelsea?
Nope, I don't follow Chelsea.
I don't follow a lot of these girls. So I don't. This is the first time I'm seeing these pictures.
I follow Chelsea. I follow Chelsea. I've been in contact with her a bit because she was going to do the show because she felt like she was all right at Triple O, but then she took third, and I think those 2 weeks give her time to get in conditioning and bring in shape. She the lady who's second to her, I interviewed a while back, Lena Becca. She looked really impressive, and it was really close between her and Lena for first place. Because Lena, if you saw the pictures, like let me see if I pull them up. And I know most definitely the Female Bobbing Channel talked about this. Give me a second. If BBC.
They need people like me and you to be on a panel with Tyler and these guys to make them understand what the bigger picture, but they don't want that.
Let me explain something to you. First of all, you keep saying about society won't accept female bodybuilders. Let me say something. Society is accepting women with fake ass, BBLs. Okay, right now that. So Botox. If you could do that, Botox, big women and all that stuff, right? So it's just people have a fetish of, preference. So it's not like I said, I would say 100. See, these people about to act like society's going to chase them down to a alley where there's no way out, and they're going to be like, oh, you shouldn't be looking like that. Freak of Nate, that's not happening.
No.
It's just that you walk, if you walk in New York, it's not common to see female bodybuilders all the time. But if people see it all the time, they're like, oh, this is a female bodybuilder. So what? They'll talk to them. They'll be like, hey, you're a cool person. It's like I said, this sport has to grow both ways. Like you said, Keith, it does have to be the promoters. But again, if the promoters are not doing anything, then the athletes, because all I hear is the ladies talking about, we ain't getting paid, we bust our butt, da da da. But yeah, I commend you for busting your butt, but no one knows who you are. This is what you're missing the key. And you can't always say, oh, the men are getting paid more. See, now you bring a sexism, because let me tell you, truth be told, this sport, like you said, is dying. That means
Yes.
the men are not even getting paid. So
Nope.
all the females gotta stop doing that. It's annoying, because it's like, okay, this is what you gotta do. You just can't say, give me money, money. You have to bust your ass, and you have to let people know who you are, and not just be on Instagram. Like I said, and there's so many. I told George about Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat, every young kid love Kai Cenat. There are female bodybuilders who have teenagers, preteens, and they know who Kai Cenat is. They see their mother on Kai Cenat, they be like, oh man, my mom is famous. Not only is she a female bodybuilder, but she's on Kai Cenat. But this is what they're not doing. You're complaining about not getting money, but the question is, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
I know it's a horse that we're beating so the time, but I think it's just up to everybody involved in the sport, from the competitors to the higher ups. Everybody, you know your parts. Step up and work on your parts. If you are Jake, go do more. If you are Jermaine, do more. If you are competitors, everybody has to play their part. If they want their sport to survive, like I said again, I'm not a competitor. My big brother here is a competitor, and this is his last hurrah. This is where you should step up. It shouldn't be like people like myself who's talking about this. Y'all supposed to talk about this.
Well, and here's the thing. When you go to the NFL, or you go to the NBA, you go to the MLB, or you go to the NHL, they have these things called rookie symposiums where they teach you the rules and all this other stuff. You need to have need to have a collective group of people, current and past people who compete in the sport and understand the sport. Like, you have Victor Martinez, you have Kevin LeBron, you have Sean Ray, who's active, you have Dorian and all these guys. Then you have the current, like you have the Chris Bumsteads, the Andrew Shaws, the Samson Dua, and you sit down at a table and says, how, as a collective group, can we make this sport bigger and better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, at the end of the day, what TNT did with the NBA and understanding what they had to do, and that's why they started having these little, not besides the NBA championship game, but in the middle of the season, they started having these tournaments where, these teams are winning stuff, because they understood, they say, we have to make this more marketable for not just for the NBA season and not just for the NBA championships, but to keep people entertained, and that's what they did. The NBA did a great job because they understood, and the NFL understood that these contracts were expiring and they had to do something to make more money. So that's what they did. If you bring these athletes to the table with a Tyler and a Jim and a Steve and a Sandy sitting across the table and says, okay, we're going to sit in a room and we're going to try to figure out how to make you guys more money, because it's about you guys. They always say it's about the athlete, and make the sport more money, which makes everybody more money. How do we do that? And it has not happened at all. And that's the biggest problem.
You need a Vince McMahon. You need a Vince McMahon type of thing. You need to. Vince told the wrestlers, listen, you can't do this forever. This is why I want to push you into different things. Either you work production, or I want to push you out to Hollywood. You get what I'm saying? Because prior to Hulk Hogan, they did Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was good. It took a couple of years, then they found Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and he was Hollywood Gold. But but Vince, regardless of how you feel about him, he's saying, listen, I'm going to have WWE studios, and whatever wrestler I see that has potential to become a movie star, I want to push them through this division, this studio. And right now, with him out the way, Paul Levesque is only saying focus on wrestling, which is not really ideal, because you got to remember, you got these wrestlers who he's pushing as over 30, 40 years old, and that shouldn't be just their life. It should be more opportunities.
Yeah.
Like you
And
saw,
this is what you need in the
we
bodybuilding
just
world.
saw John Cena, who's like in his 40s, come back and win 17th world championship. And he's not the same John Cena is. He's changed. He's now a bad guy. He's a heel. But he's been doing movies. The last
Commercials.
10 years since his last between the last two years wrestling. You look at a guy like Dave Bautista. Guardians of the Galaxy. He also was in a Bond movie. I mean,
George, did you see George? I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you see Captain America: Brave New World?
not yet.
Okay, I want to say this. I'm going to say this. This is where all the female bodies drop the ball. When you watch that movie, there is a little woman. She's 4 feet nothing, and she was beating the crap out of dudes bigger than her. And I say to myself, that's not believable. Now, if you had a female bodybuilder or a female physique, I could say, yeah, that's believable. You had a woman. Watch the movie. This woman was like barely 4 feet, took out dudes as Keith size, and I'm like, that's not believable.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm trying to say, ladies. If y'all bodybuilding ladies, if y'all listening to this show, my advice for you: get an agent, head out to Hollywood or during the off season, do some acting class. If you have to do a deal with a low budget director, get your foot in, and you could be the next big face in Hollywood. But you got to try.
Yeah, because there's wrestlers right now, especially in the women's ring, that could really make a big push. Good example, Jade Cargill. She just defeated Naomi for because revenge after what happened. She attacked her. Jordan Grace, she's very impressive. The Juggernaut. There's a couple other female wrestlers. There's one lady, I think she's not as big, but she's really popular. Toni Storm. Not built. But she has a particular build. She's very, very, very bottom heavy. She's kind of a but but the thing is, again, they have to get out of their own way. They have to really do this. And again, bodybuilding is starting to grow across the globe. It's having the Masters of Olympia in Japan. Just finished the FIBO. Got a show coming up in Germany. There's shows like we just saw some competitors who just turned pro in India.
And here's the thing, George. Remember, I told you when Tina did the Titan show, Tamer and Muscle Contest. If you go look up their site, they have shows in Singapore. They have shows, so many shows internationally. It's crazy for amateurs. Singapore, Thailand. These shows, Tamer is gone international. I mean, you don't even see him here anymore because he's in Brazil. He understands the market there is huge. So he's like, I'm out. His whole thing is international now. Tamer's whole thing is international now. And it's blown up for him and it's paid big dividends for him because you're going into an area where it wasn't something, now it's something, and people want to see it, and he ain't dumb. And I can't remember how many shows he said. It was like 200 and something shows internationally wise that they're putting on next year, or that's coming up, just overseas alone. And so when you brought this topic up, I'm like, interesting that George said this because internationally they're killing the United States because everybody wants to see it there. I think people get bored and done with it, but everybody wants to see it there. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a lot of shows.
Also, Keith, also remember those athletes in Brazil. They're not just on just bodybuilding podcasts. They hitting every podcast down in Brazil. That is making them also popular. This is the key. It's not that hard, people. It's the key. If you want this sport to grow, you gotta go on every platform. I'm even saying it again, Kai Sanat, go there. You got kids, ladies, they big Kai Sanat fans. Go on that platform. They will be amazed. Oh wow, my mom was a bodybuilder and she's on Kai Sanat's platform. And watch her Instagram and social media grow because now you want to bring younger fans.
George, how crazy! I don't even know some of these places I haven't even heard of. But look at all those shows.
Yeah. There's a show in Rio coming up, and I think it's coming up around about April 19th. That was this past weekend, I believe. Shows in I think it's what is it? I don't know what this place is.
Bali.
You know,
I don't even know.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, it looks like somewhere in Brazil. You know, he's going worldwide.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, you got to go where just had the Arnold Schwarzenegger show in Brazil, in Rio. You have to. There is like this. If you get something, if you have a product that people want, and it's something that interests them, and if you can sell it to the masses, then you can get attention for it. You can get recognition. You just got to be willing to go out there, go to like the places that wasn't there before. Talk to the people. Ask what you want to see. What do you want? What do you want from us? Will you like this? Do you think it'll work here? It's gonna take its time. It's gonna be slow at first, but once it starts hitting momentum, you should just ride it. Sometimes it's an investment.
Well, and again, what did Tamer do when he put on the Titan show? And I thought it was a great show. He put on a great show, and now and that's when he talked about him going worldwide and all these other things. But Tamer understands sport. You know why Tamer understands sport? Because he was a competitor. And he was competing when I was competing as a light heavyweight and was a good competitor. But he understands, he runs a production for the Olympia, but you need more guys like with that kind of vision than the guys that have the vision now that are not broadening the spectrum of how to make this sport worldwide. It's worldwide to a degree, but it should be a lot bigger because here's the thing at the end of the day. I understand that everybody in KO said it best. Not everybody in the gym is not in the gym to be a bodybuilder. But everybody's in the gym to get in shape, to get healthier, to all this other stuff, to live longer and better, because it's better than sitting on your ass wilting away on the couch, because I've seen that happen as well. But at the end of the day, it intrigues people to understand what it takes. On a daily basis at the gym I train at, people call me Dear Abby now because people come up to me and ask me advice all the damn time. And I'm like, and I have a shit ton of clients because everybody's like, who don't you train now? I'm like, it's not by choice because all the clients I have, and I have a shit ton of clients, I don't ask, and since I've been in this industry, I've not asked one person if they wanted a trainer. I said, proof is in the pudding, and when they see what you're doing and they see the results that you're producing, whether you're a bodybuilder, and I don't make my money off of competitors, mind you. I make my money off of weight loss and wellness and just people want to be healthy. Because what people don't understand in this industry when it comes to when we talk about bodybuilding and all this other shit, that's a seasonal sport. So they don't need you year round. They need you when they're getting ready. When they're bulking or when they're prepping for a show. Weight loss is a year-round thing. It's a different kind of niche. So that's what people have to understand when it comes to this sport. They're intrigued by it. They want to get in shape. They want to look better because everything that people do in the gym. People don't go in the gym because they just going in the gym. They go in the gym to change their lives, to change their, not to be a bodybuilder, not to be a competing competitor, but just to be healthier. And being healthier, meaning when you see a guy like me in the gym, like, holy fuck, that's a big guy, I wonder what he's doing, and asking me questions, it's just about a lifestyle change. That's what I tell people. It's a lifestyle change. If you're going to the gym just to work out, I commend they inspire me the most? It's the big people. Because I tell people right away, you know how hard it took you, and personally I say, for you to walk through that door and to come in here is a victory all in itself.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience. I remember when I was going to the gym my first time, because I was doing working out at home. And I would talk to my doctor and say that you're doing pretty good, but you need a little more. Yeah, I said, what's more to do? So I'm lucky that I had with the my benefits I get, I can go to gym. I was going to Planet Fitness. I went in about every couple of times out of the week, because I had a friend. He was working in the next town over at his job. I'll drop him off. I'll go work out. He usually don't work too long. I might just, stay out around that area till he gets home or go straight home afterward. And, till I had a situation where, I just, was going through some issues, and then my car started messing up. I said, well, I want to get back, but, it's going to take me some time. But I try to do stuff like I get up, every time I go out and walk, so I can go to the laundromat because it's just just a little over a mile from where I live at. So that's my walking. I do that a couple of times, maybe out of the week, maybe less. Sometimes I got knees like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they give me problems. But I try to get out, and it's tough trying to break out of those old habits. Like today, I asked my niece if I can borrow her car because I can, go to the laundromat, wash my clothes, take care of that because it's the end of the month and I want to pick up some groceries before things, because it's a holiday. But I think people had to find the courage to really put themselves out there, to take those opportunities and they're not given to you. You have to take them. We got a comment from my man, Raheem. He stepped out. He says, "This is a great topic. Thank you, brother." He says also this says, one day I got a train with Keith, maybe. I don't know.
Everybody says that till they actually have to work out with me. Then they're like, fuck.
Yeah. It says, George, next gym you should try Blink Fitness, amazing gym. Where if they have in my area, because like I said, I'm in a very small area, you have to really any kind of other gym, you have to go way, way out. Like I think, so Planet Fitness is a little closer. Plus, with my thing, I could probably get in. You don't have to pay as much. Also, we have here, man. Lawrence Perkins says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen, and everyone on the chat. Thank you, brother." See, the thing is, I know sometimes we're going around in circles, but there's always something that we see that we don't get to see. Like again, that's why I say, well, why bodybuilding, being such a fringe sport, is spreading across the world. It was very popular, hit its heights in around about the 80s and the 90s. And now, if you look at the Olympia now, back in the day, it used to be the Olympias, like the men had their Olympias, the ladies have theirs. Then you have one big weekend all together. And you have people coming from different parts of the world, from different parts of the country, people from different societies. Like there's a picture of Shannon Sharp standing with Linda Murray, and there's a picture of Isabel Terrell standing with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Yeah. She sat there. You see a lot of celebrities. It has a fan base, but here's again, those people who need to step up and say, you know what, I like this sport. I want to see it grow. I have the means and ways to do it. The situation with The Rock, I think a lot of people didn't like it because they feel like this guy coming in here is a professional wrestler, but he's successful. They weren't feared because they feel like they're going to change everything, but maybe wouldn't. Also,
Here's the thing. I tell people this all the time. The Rock is like me. The Rock is like Tina. We're athletes. It wasn't a wrestling thing. I didn't start off in this sport. I knew nothing about this sport. But when you're an athlete and you understand hard work and discipline, he went to the University of Miami, the powerhouse of football in his era. Ray Lewis, Michael Irving, Goldberg. He played with those guys because everybody was like. Somebody asked me a random question one day, like, "What was the best? Who was the best? Who do you think what was the best era of football?" And I was like, the Miami Hurricanes. The motherfuckers could walk off the airplane in army fatigues because they knew you remember the Catholics versus the criminals or some shit when they played Notre Dame because their whole mantra was just different.
Like as the Walkman said, he was the one who made Charlie Ward quit playing a quarterback in Florida and start going to basketball because how hard he hit him. That was one thing. I remember he mentioned that because you know what, in Miami, that was when he had Jimmy Johnson. I think it was the best years. I think for anything, people have to really, as I said again, get out of your own prejudiced ideas about what you want to see. You want more, then you have to fight for that more. And if you see, like I said again, like Raheem says, it's died in America. Even to survive in America, you got to step up. You got to take the playbook, like people like you mentioned, Tamer, what he's doing. I think Jake should maybe go a little more the Olympia does go international because there's the Eastern European Olympia Italy for the amateurs. You have the Masters Olympia. I mean, Arnold has his classics. As just saw, saw a few about the channel that the Arnold Classic is coming back to the UK. The big debate is, I don't know if they're going to add figure and women's physique this year. I think they should. Also, women's bodybuilding. There's quite a few number of women in the UK supposed to come back next year.
Because you remember what Tyler said. It was the most impressive show he had ever attended was the UK Arnold, was the most impressive, more than Olympia. He goes, it was crazy because those people are fiending for these shows to go over there. And that's why Samson said to everybody, he says, look, I do these little shows that don't make me as much money as Olympia so that the fans in my country, the UK, and parts of this world get to see me versus because they can't get to the United States. And it makes sense, and again, Tamer's younger brother, and I will keep saying it, said he is the epitome of what the Mr. Olympia champion should be about. And it's, like I said, I'm a big fan of Samson. He inspired me to actually come back to bodybuilding. And anybody at the age of 50 can inspire me to come back. Well, 49 I was, after all the shit I've been through. I just got knee injections. I just got knee injections today. But again, at the end of the day, I told him he has inspired me to give it one more go because he is just his being, his words. He tries to reach out to, if you send him a message, he will send you a message. He goes, I try to get to every person who send me messages a message back. He goes, I don't leave the expo until everybody in my line has got a chance to meet me or speak to me. He's the only athlete that does that. And that's why people love this guy. And that's what an ambassador of our sport should be about. And that's why the IFBB should be helping people like him, Andrea, or look at Andrea, and because there's pictures with him and Andrea somewhere, and look at them and tell these athletes, if you want this sport to grow, if you want to reap the rewards of like Samson's doing right now, go follow him and watch what he's doing. You want to know how it's really done? And he's only won one Olympia. He hasn't won multiple like Phil, Jay, Ronnie, Lee Haney. He hasn't. But again, when you have a poster boy, and he lost to Arnold, but who gives a shit? Because that's not the biggest title. At the end of the day, when you want somebody who wants to represent your sport and have people follow you and make the sport bigger, that's going to be your champion for a long time.
Yeah, that's much respect because here he is, and yo, Samson, what you doing my girl? You got a wife, man. You push up my girl. I gotta talk to this cat. I gotta talk to this cat. He's they talking like, yo, mate, what are you doing pushing my love? I gotta talk like his wish. You're like, I gotta be like space to save him. You got the little doggy there. He's got the cute little doggy, yo. But yo, Samson, man, yo. I got it. I got a little man I got to worry about now, Keith.
Yeah, don't worry about me no more. Hey, we're both married. Hey, he married and I'm married. You ain't got to worry about us.
I got to trust y'all. I don't trust y'all. Y'all still men. Men are men. Men are men, especially around a pretty woman. Here we got shout out to the man Raheem saying, Keith, don't forget the Rocket B was on the same team with Warren Sapp. Yeah, man.
That's Sapp. Right.
Yeah. Also, he says this. He says, after I get married this August, I will look into going into bodybuilding. Oh, okay. Okay. Little man got hard.
Hey, I tell him come work out with me for a week, and if he can handle it, you get invited to the barbecue.
yeah, but like I said again, Samson's a decent guy. I might follow him. I might, you don't follow a lot of guys.
If you don't follow him on Facebook or Instagram, just follow him, and when you follow him, and just watch what he puts out every week, every day. Him going to the gym, his own gym now that they just built his own private gym for him. It's fucking phenomenal. And this company out of Brazil built every piece of equipment in there. And I think his dumbbells are being made. But I'm saying from the standpoint, if you guys are trying to understand what the sport needs and what it takes, he does everything right. Him and his wife have done his wife does all the video editing for all the videos and all this other stuff. Hostile, his sponsor, has done a great job with him. And look what they did to the Sam Sullick kid. I mean, the kid wasn't even a pro bodybuilder until a few months ago, And he got people wrapped around the corner because what they understood, Hasso understood, was that the marketability and what they have with Samson and him is phenomenal, and they're killing it. And so when you want to look at a blueprint and saying, how do I make myself more marketable? How do I make myself relevant? How do I make this sport even bigger than me, than Jim, Tyler, Steve, Sandy, and all these people? You have to look at those athletes and sit there and say, let's write their coattails for a minute, see what they're doing, help them out, and that will make this sport bigger, because that's the only way it's going to be bigger, is by them helping out these athletes. Because I can go to, Lawrence Journal has done articles on me and Tina, the power couple, and all this other stuff, but it takes more than that. And we're in newspapers, they came to our house for 2 or 3 days, but it takes more than that. It takes, when you got the IFBB, I look at the IFBB as the NFL. I look at the IFBB as the NBA, and not from the standpoint on the same level that they should be looking and sitting there saying, how does Roger Goodell and these guys who run these businesses become even? Every year they get bigger and bigger. They don't get smaller. Their numbers are not getting smaller. They're expanding. The numbers are not getting smaller. They're expanding, and it makes more money. And here's the thing. Roger Goodell makes more money. That means Steve and Tyler and all these guys will make more money. And the athletes make more money because there's more shows and there's more money to be made for men and women.
And also educate people about the facts about it. Like I said again, steroids is only a small factor of it. You see more, small. You see more use in the mainstream sports like football, basketball, but because they're mainstream sports, get overlooked. Here we got here from man Raheem. He says, "Okay, Keith, I accept the invite. I don't know, son.
Okay, I got you, dog.
I don't know, son. You can handle that, son. I don't know. You got a lot of heart, but you might lose it." But again,
I got you, dog.
Yeah, again, the sport, it's like I said, it's growing. It's growing. It's just by middle schools, but everybody needs to again play their part. Yeah. Do the things you need to do. If there's an issue between the Jim May and the guy who runs the other IFB league, y'all need to squash that shit and really come together. Create have a big in between show, like something before the Olympia, something after, something before the Olympia, something after also the Classic, where you come together. You wouldn't become the competition for that show.
Think about it, George. When you say that, it just dawned on me. What do we have in baseball right now? What do we have in baseball? We have the
All-Star Weekend.
Not the All-Star Weekend, but the teams, the countries playing against each other. So why not have the United States guys versus the European guys and show something like that, where you bring bring the best guys of the United States, bring the best guys, and that may be 10, 15 guys or 20 whatever guys, and compete against each other. And there's a point system with the women and the men. And at the end of it all, there's a champion for every division from fitness, wellness, bikini, from that standpoint. From the men's side, there's bodybuilding, classic physique, and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, there's a point system. And at the end of the day, there's one title to be won. Is it the Europeans? Is the European better bodybuilders, or the United States athletes better bodybuilders as a whole? Not like just men, but women and men together, and it's a point system. That'd be great.
Yeah, you can fight Samson. You can fight, Heidi. You can fight Eric. You can invite, if he still wants to do it anymore, Romney. But I think I think he's done. You can invite Andrea. You can invite Anastasia, Kobaleva. You can invite, whoever for your bodybuilders from different countries. It can't be like a world meeting of minds version of the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic. Almost a little bit of the Olympia. Just pick the ones who you feel really represent the sport and the division, and give that opportunity to them.
Well, guys, I got to head out. I got to go to practice, but it was good seeing you guys. I'll see you next week.
All righty, I appreciate it. My man K had to head out too. Shout out to him. Appreciate you for coming through. Shout out to my man Raheem for coming through. Shout out to my brother. He's going to be competing, coming to show Chicago. Also, he's going to do Master Olympia. And his lovely wife, Miss Tina S. Williams. Shout out to her. Folks, again, this sport of bodybuilding, it is, even though it's a fringe sport, it's really spreading around. It's really going out in the world. but it's up to not just the competitors, but also the high ups. You know, like we talk about, if you look at the sports like Roger Goodell, he had Jay-Z work with him because all that mess was going on after the Colin Kaepernick stuff. And then you had Kendrick Lamar did the opening Super Bowl. That was the most watched. A lot of people say, we can understand what he was saying, yeah. But it wasn't like about what you understand him. People who did. The rest were just curious. And maybe the ones that hate, because the thing is, people that hate, like Cat Williams said like this, if you have haters, let them do their fucking job. Let them hate. Because what that tells you about what they hate is because you're doing something that they're not doing. And they hate you for that. So you keep doing that, and you're the more haters. It's good to have the congratulations, pat your back, say, hey, you're doing good. But the haters are the ones that really look at you because they want to be you, want to be more than you. They want to be competitive. That thing is, bodybuilding the whole, especially with organizations like the IFB, NPC, and all the, you have to be more competitive out there. You have to really put yourself out there. And people out there who don't know about bodybuilding, reach out. You don't have to watch my live stream. There's a bunch of guys who do stuff like Dave Palumbo. There's Nick, I think Nick Jelly, his stuff is gone. I think he's shutting down for some stuff. There's some other guys, but those guys, they are more about the sport, understand it more. I'm just a fan, really. Yes, I am a fan, but I am a guy who's trying to get a voice to a certain division, or especially for the women who don't have that voice. Any of you a young lady who's a bikini competitor, nice young lady, I hope she gets a pro card. Any of you a young lady who just made her pro debut in figure. Talk to a lady who I've been here before, Marilyn Yee. If you see on my IG, I got an interview coming up with Big Jane. Big Jane. She's on her way to New York. Just really see that Big Jane's from Thailand. There's even a bodybuilder from the Philippines. She hadn't competed yet as a pro. She was invited to the Masters Olympia back in 2033. I hope she does take the invite this year. The sport is growing. It's growing, folks. But it needs people to keep it going. It needs not only, as I said again, the higher ups to step up, the athletes to step up. Everybody play their role. If you don't want the sport to die, reach out and just really try to not just get just the American market, but get the world market, like Tamer's doing over there in other countries, Brazil. He's really expanding. Bodybuilding can expand as long as something you can offer the people something they want to see, or maybe the curiosity gets them into it because they've seen this thing. Say, what's this about? I'm curious about it. I want to check it out. And if they like it, good. If they don't, they don't. But like I said again, keep doing your job and don't worry about the haters because what they want, so they hate so much, but you care so little. And that's the thing is that gets them to let me step up my game. Let me do what I need to do. But I do like to think my brothers coming through. My man Big Keith Williams, Raheem Hamilton, my brother K.L. the Wanderer, Lawrence Perkins, all who were here, commented and subscribed. Shout out to my brother Execution23. He's great. My little brother. He's a fan. He's not much for bodybuilding, but he's a fan of me, and I appreciate that. But again, folks, always trying to find topics to talk about. Come on, if you have something you want me to talk about, especially some women bodybuilding, let me know. If not, I think I might try to do some interviews every now and then. We are planning to do another live stream coming up on Sunday. I do this every once a month with the ladies that I know who want to talk about certain things. It's it's easier there. But I think I might try to do an interview for the last Monday of this month. I'm going to check in with a lady, see if she's interested in doing it at that time, and we'll do it that. But if you have a subject, especially in the bodybuilding realm, it's not something we repeat. I know we're repeating a dead horse, but each time we beat that dead horse, we find something new. We find something we hadn't seen before. I know something's going in circles, but we always see something that we missed the first time. It's like anything. Like we do an investigation. You always miss little things here and there that you didn't see. But once you see them, then you realize it. And that's what the thing is. You have to see those small things. It's the small things that really, can hold up things. The little things. Not so much the big stuff, but so it's always the little things that hold it up. Anyway, folks, I appreciate y'all coming through. Thank you for your support. I wish you all the best. I know today for some people it's Easter day off for them, but you gotta go back to work tomorrow. I don't. But I know I say happy for people who I did not say happy things Easter to that I missed you. I say happy belated Easter. Enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you for coming through and supporting my channel. This is your Mallory George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. like, so that's subscribe. I'm out. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good luck, and God bless. And happy Easter.